We're going to move forward now for another interesting topic. We've been following all of these different presidential candidates getting into the race, from Donald Trump to Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy. Well, Haley's candidacy has caused some fervor from the left and the right, which I think has been interesting. Certainly on the right, there's a lot of Trump supporters. There's going to be folks supporting DeSantis. I don't think Haley's going to run away with the GOP nomination. She's going to have challenges there. Ramaswamy's now in the mix as well. But interestingly enough, and certainly as Haley is being a GOP candidate, she's going to have a pushback from the left. But I was fascinated, Jonathan. You probably saw this. Don Lemon from CNN took a pot shot at Nikki Haley. And then we had these other pundits that have primarily been on like CNN and MSNBC also taking shots at Nikki Haley. And I don't understand why they have to take pot shots about her appearance, her age. Go after her on policy. That's fine. But I was astonished at what was taking place.
Yeah, and especially Don Lemon making that foolish statement about women past the age of 30 not being in their primes. I mean, of course, he had to walk that back, took a few days off. Some called it a suspension, but now he's now back on air. Apologized again, but yeah, I've never really seen this ever. First of all, Nikki Haley continues to be a trailblazer, a first, in many cases. But instead of the left, especially uplifting that, right? They're talking about always, hey, you're the first this, the first that, woman, minority. They're not using or any of that to put her on a pedestal. They're just tearing her down. And again, like you said, not on any of her credentials, because she has impeccable credentials, but man, you've got to make a case. Because I think a lot of these, folks talking right now, it's clearly political, it's clearly partisan, and she's just in the wrong party, according to her critics. Anyone in the GOP, considered conservative, considered the enemy, according to some, especially at CNN and MSNBC. But yeah, she's really being put through the ringer. But I think in the end, she's looking good out of this. She's actually getting a lot of media attention early on, as she is a contender as president, so to be the next president. So I think this is going to work out in her favor.
Yeah, I just want to recount briefly some of these remarks just to show you how, like, honestly, childish they sound like. I mean, these are people who are ostensibly reputable commentators that get paid to be on these national networks. One guy, Wajahat Ali, he's a Bay Area resident, went to some elite prep schools, one of which I went to. So we're the same. We're alums from the same school, and this guy's taking shots at. And I understand if you don't like her politics, that's totally fine. But to pull up Wajahat's statement, he called Nikki Haley the perfect Manchurian candidate. Is that appropriate? For a political
age, anything goes. So I mean,
I guess anything goes. Now, that's one thing, and then Asha Rangappa, another. Again, these are Democratic commentators, both of whom have been compensated by these news networks to give their comments. Rangappa was criticizing Haley's name. Nikki's actually her middle name, but of course, and I understand this because Bobby Jindal was obviously blasted for being called, for using Bobby rather than his given name, Piyush.
The guy's in Louisiana. Let's give
right.
a break.
Absolutely. But Nikki's actually her middle name on her birth certificate. And I think we have to have more compassion for people's plight. And this is true also of Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is a mixed race woman who's Indian and Black, who grew up in Oakland and Berkeley. Her experience growing up at that age is very similar to what Nikki Haley went through growing up as the daughter of immigrants, of Sikh immigrants from India, growing up in South Carolina. You're going to try to do what you can to fit in. I know, Jonathan, you and I have had our own share of challenges, fitting into American society as Asian American men. We don't even fit into the media. There's no show like this on television. Yeah. So I have great empathy
Asian
for
male is a liability in the media.
Yeah. I don't understand why, just because you don't get along with someone ideologically, you got to take shots at their identity. Listen, that's their life experience. And if Nikki Haley wants to run as a Republican or Vivek Ramaswamy, let him do it. And Kamala Harris is comfortable as a Democrat. She's welcome to do that too. So that was kind of appalling. And then you saw some other youngsters on social media taking pot shots as well, chiming in. I just thought it was really amateurish. But of course, these two comments from these reputable commentators pale in comparison to what on the right Ann Coulter said, who basically went on a podcast and said Nikki Haley needs to go back to her country. And she's, said this in many different venues now. Like I don't know what the deal is between her and Nikki Haley, but I don't like racism on the left, and I don't like racism on the right, and bigotry of any sort. I think it's ridiculous. Why can't ideas matter? I understand maybe she's not your cup of tea, Ann Coulter, but I was just astonished that this early in the race, Haley's chances of winning the GOP nomination are not high. She's up. She's going up against a guy who actually won the presidency, came just short. Not to mention another guy named DeSantis who has a huge mandate in Florida. She's got a real uphill climb.
Like I said, this is only going to benefit her. I mean, if people weren't taking all of these shots at her, she wouldn't be in the news cycle as she is now. So she actually should be thankful, in my opinion. But at the same time, yeah, there's no more decorum. We live in a new era that's being fueled by likes and tweets and social media. It's about the talking heads, the pundits with the best hot takes get the most attention. I think that's all this is. So I think Haley is a veteran. She's a pro. She definitely holds herself with dignity. And I think she's laughing right now. Yeah. Is it ridiculous? What Ann Coulter said, is it acceptable? Absolutely not. We should not be tolerating that type of language. Go back to your country. Ann Coulter should go back to whatever white Western European country that her ancestors are from. So, look, again, Coulter really surprised. Clearly, there's something there. But again, overall, you're seeing a lot of the criticism come from the left and the Democrats. So this is really turning into a partisan issue. And again, if they didn't think she was an actual threat, I don't think that they'd be going after her like this. But I think she could be a viable candidate at the very least, maybe as a vice president.
I mean, just as an aside before we move on, I mean, I had friends of mine that identify as Republicans who texted me, were like, what is Ann Coulter saying? Like, they were grossly offended by her comments.
Ann
Again,
Coulter
as a Republican supporter.
She's irrelevant. She's not even in the news cycle. Where is she? Was she on Twitter?
Maybe she got about a week of buzz. Maybe that's the way she sells books.
And that's it. Yeah, no buzz or books anymore. She's done.
Right.